So the message is that many of you, I heard you don't have night vision, but you have third eye sight vision. And it's making me think about the darkness and how you really can't see in the dark. Like, say for instance, you're in a room and it's a dark room, you can't see much of anything, not unless there's a window and you see a little piece of light come through, you know, the window shine through from like a street light or something. So now I'm hearing, even when you didn't know what to do, you knew what to do. Okay, in the dark, even when you didn't know what to do, you knew what to do. So what I'm picking up here is, this feels like walking the path as a youth, like someone that's young, and there's an inner calling inside of you trying to take your attention away from what you've been doing, how you've been moving, to lead you into a direction that you're meant to be in. I feel like many of you have experienced this in your earlier years. There were like, I heard trigger points. I was going to say moments, but then I heard trigger points. So there were trigger points in your life where you noticed that you had to pivot your ways, because you knew that if you continued on doing a certain something, it wasn't going to turn out well. And this is just what I'm getting, because when you're younger, you really don't know what you're doing. You know, you just kind of like go with the environment. So even if things that are happening in your environment, it is very likely that you'll do them too. Not unless you have like a very strong will at a young age, which it could be rare at times to withstand the ability to, or to withstand, how can I put this? To exercise the ability to withstand temptations. I'm hearing some of you didn't do certain things because you were afraid of the outcome. So fear stopped you from getting into certain things. But those things that you could have gotten into were not good for you anyway. So actually somehow the fear came in handy, because it stopped you from doing things that you shouldn't, because you were fearful. Because there's things that some of you could have done, but you didn't do because you were fearful of the outcome. I'm also getting that many of you did indulge in many things that you knew were not the best, but it was kind of like the thing. It was the thing that everyone did around you, so it was normal to you. So there's nothing wrong with it. You know, it's like, yeah, everybody does this, so whatever. And this could be anything. It could be anything, any vice. I heard any vice. It could be any vice, right? But this message is to highlight the fact that you listened to your inner guide at a very early age. There were times when you did. There were times when you also ignored your inner guide, and you recognized that you got into trouble or something didn't go well. And then I'm also hearing that many of you had trouble because you don't want to be looked at a certain way. You know, when a crowd is doing the same thing, and then you're like the oddball out and you're the only one that doesn't want to do what everybody else is doing, then you will be targeted by the ones that are closest to you, because that's just what it is. Because you're like an 8-ball at that point. So the 8-ball is not acceptable, because it's different from it. Your personality was different from everyone else's. So it was hard for you to accept that at first, but then you owned it. I just heard you owned it. Eventually you did. I don't think it was always like that. I think it's something that you had to learn. You You had to learn it. You had to feel comfortable within that place. You had to feel comfort. You know, you had to find your center, your wusa. Wusa. So, you being able to find your center within self, it actually helped you to learn to start to navigate life on your own terms eventually. Because, like I said, it doesn't always happen early on like that. But I feel like for many of you, it did. It did happen early. But I think here and there, you kind of like ignored it because you wanted to just be down with the crowd around you because it just felt good in the moment. So you kind of just like, was like, all right, I'm going to just do the things. I'm going to just do the things. But then, I wanted to say soon after, shortly after, or sometime after, but I think it's sometime after, you chose different and you started to regulate yourself. You started to notice, like, you know what? I don't even think I'm really interested in this. I think I'm just bored. You know? I think some of you may have felt that before. So you found that you were just doing things because you didn't have anything else to do with your time. So you were getting into things that weren't the best for you. Once you noticed that, I feel like that was a trigger for you because you wanted more. Like, eventually, like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. And it doesn't have to be only vices. It could also be issues with parents, I'm hearing. Like, if there was issues with parents, it made you tired and it made you want to leave home early for someone. There's someone who wanted to leave home early. Because, like, why is this happening? I don't like it. And aren't I supposed to be, like, guided at home? Why do I feel like I'm having... It's almost like somebody was thinking, you know, my friend doesn't have to deal with this, or it feels like this energy of you comparing yourself at one point in time, saying my friend didn't have to do this, or that person doesn't experience this, but when I'm home, I experience this. Someone had a parent that was an alcoholic, or parents that were alcoholics, and it was hard for you to deal with that. It's making me think about a movie that I watched. And there was two twin brothers. I don't even remember what the movie is called. But there were two twin brothers. Okay. There were two twin brothers. And they kind of like, they took care of each other. The twin brothers, they cared for each other. And when the movie started, they were actually taking a picture together. Like a professional photograph together. And one brother was like bold, and he was the one that was courageous. They were twins, but one was bold and one was quiet and meek, and the other one was ferocious, like had that ferocious energy where they would say anything they want and do anything they want, but they got along with each other. And I think their bond was so strong because the mom was an alcoholic. Because the way that they started the movie, it was weird because I was like, these two little boys, they moving like they have a job and like they pay rent and everything. It was just the way that they were moving. But I'm like, where's the parents? And then eventually, like, okay, I think they went home, they went to sleep, and then either that night or the next morning, they woke up and they both kind of like heard the door opening. So they like peeked and kind of went to see, because they knew who it was. It was their mother, but she was drunk. She walked in the house drunk. And they kind of like looked at her and noticed and just went back upstairs and just like looked at her in like a somber way. It was a somber moment. And then the next day, CPS came, or DCS, you know, you call it different things depending on where you are in the world. But the Child Protective Services came the next morning knocking on the door, and the boys were trying to cover for their mother. They hurried up and woke her up to tell her, you know, that the people are there, because they didn't want her to get caught up drunk or with the hangover or whatever. So one brother woke her up, or both of them woke her up. One brother took her out and gave her a bag to make it look like she was coming from the store, and the other brother stalled for them and was like, oh yeah, my mom just went to the store. And I was just looking at like how stressful that would have to be for children to go through. That's like very stressful for I don't think they didn't show a father. It was only the mother. And so they played it off, but the Child Protective Services knew that, you know, they gave off the vibe like, we know something wasn't right. And I don't know, it just made me, my moment of feeling the energy of someone's parents being alcoholics, it made me think about that movie, because when your parents are alcoholics, it gives you so much more work to do. As a child, a young child is supposed to be able to be creative and, you know, have friends and do their schoolwork and learn. You know, it's supposed to be kind of, I mean, like innocent. It's supposed to be like a sense of innocence that a child can experience. But many individuals in life don't get to experience what a child should. And I also feel like responsibilities being pushed onto a young person early on, it rips them away from their innocence as well as their imagination. Because in order to be a dreamer and be a thinker and be a creative, you need your imagination. If you don't have your imagination, what a dull world. You have to be able to think some stuff up for things to activate in your life. You have to be able to manifest in your mind before it could become in reality. And there's so many people that have babies and they're not ready for them. And the children end up parenting themselves and not even knowing really how to do it, but just doing it because they don't have any other choice, right? So what are they supposed to do? You know? So I just feel like many of you had to grow up fast. I just heard you just had to. Like I didn't have no choice. Like I had to. That's what I just heard. I had to. So we learned strength very early, you see. Many of you that are listening to this message learned strength very early because it was kind of forced onto you. And so it took away a big chunk of your childhood. And I feel like deep down inside, that's a trauma that still bothers you. And it's probably something that you don't think about. So this may trigger some, but it's a good trigger. It's a good trigger because you can still live now. Like okay, yes, there's things that you may have wanted to do as a child that you couldn't do, but it doesn't stop you from exploring your childlike self in the now. Because you and that child are still present at the same time. Even though we might not look at it like that, but all time is happening at the same time. And when you are able to understand that and just appreciate it for what it is, you know how, I don't know if you guys watch like time traveling movies and stuff like that. They can go forward in time and back in time. And so all time is happening at the same time, simultaneously, right? So that means that the child in you is still alive in a different dimension. It's just that you moved out of that dimension because you've become an adult, right? So some of you might be like, what? And that's okay. Just let it go over your head. Just think about it as just me expressing myself to you so you can understand something, okay? I just heard, what would you tell your childhood self? What would you tell you know how there may have been someone that you wanted to speak to when you were younger and you didn't have that person? If you can be that if you can be your own mentor to your baby self or to your toddler self or your teenage self, what would you tell yourself? You can put it in the comments if you want. If not, Ask yourself that question. What would you tell yourself? Is there something that you wanted to hear that you didn't hear? Or is there something that you wanted to do that you never was able to do? Was there knowledge that you wish you had prior to making a certain decision as a young person? This is just a few questions just to start you off. But then I want you to also practice creating questions for yourself. Something that was really difficult for you. If you were able to go back in time and speak to the younger version of you, your childhood self, what would you say to where you think it would have triggered you to improve certain decisions that you made? What would you say to yourself, right? What would if you could mentor your baby self, what would you say to your baby self? You know, would you remind your baby self of how strong they are? Or like, what would it be? I just want you to think, and I just want you to explore that real quick. Just let it just marinate, okay? Let it marinate in the mind, okay? And then why? Once you find out what questions you want to, or not just what questions, or what advice you would give to your younger version, or the younger version of you, then I want you to ask yourself, why would you say that? Why would you ask your younger self that question? Because that's getting to the root of the problem, and this could be a problem that you didn't really know was there until you ask yourself these questions. So this can be helpful for you because it could help you to see something that is really affecting you possibly still now today. And by looking at it and speaking to the baby in you, you can change your perception that has been holding you back. Many of you have perceptions that have been stuck on you since a child, and it's hard for you to let them go because you never wanted to look at it again because it hurts too bad, so you don't want to look at it. But it's good to look at it because when you look at it, you heal, okay? So when you ask yourself why, would you tell yourself that? You will then be directed to what happened, which makes you feel that that is the best advice to give to your child self, the version of you as a child. And then remind yourself that happened already. It's not going to hurt you anymore, but it's okay to cry though. I'm not going to tell you not to cry because if it makes you cry, that's good. Allow the tears to fall and give them as an offering, okay? Give them as an offering to your spirit family, to God, to the Creator, to God, okay? Give your tears as an offering, okay? I'm always going to tell you that it's very powerful, and the sincerity and the honesty of your tears water the earth and the frequency as well. I'm hearing that waters the earth and the frequency because it is you releasing the heaviness that is within you. It's making me think about how the water can be heavy or it can be light. If you're filled up with too many tears that you have not released, then you become heavy. You become weighed down. So releasing your tears lightens you up, emotionally and physically. Because holding back tears can bring great stress to you, and it also shows that you are suppressing your emotions. And we talked about that in one of the last videos, how that could affect you. Suppressing your emotions and trying to ignore them aligns with disease that can be fatal. And in the article that I mentioned, it said it can cause, or suppressing emotions can cause the same fatal result as high cholesterol or heart disease. So these are the things that you want to focus on so that you can remain as healthy as you can be. Because environmentally, we already have so much to worry about now. There's so many things to worry about. See, but your emotions, you can handle that if you choose to. You can work on that. So at least if you work on yourself and on the hidden aspects of you, then dealing with all the other stuff becomes a little more easier, a little easier to bear, because your mind is balanced. So when your mind is balanced, then you kind of can create an opportunity for you to plan different methods to deal with the environmental issues that are around you. Because if you're not thinking in a balanced way, how can you speak to everything else that's happening around you? So it starts with you. Okay, it always starts with you. Okay, now what else am I getting here? I feel like I'm swaying a little bit, but this is the energy right now, so you know I flow. I'm gonna just let it go. I heard get the charms. Okay, I'm gonna get the charm. Flamingo. Balance. Okay, we just talked about balance. Let me get another one. Standing on one foot. Standing on one foot. Some of you might feel imbalanced right now, actually. You might feel like you want to hide away. When I just saw this charm, it's a shell with a pearl in the middle. You see that? I don't know. Yeah, you can see. It's a pearl, a shell with a pearl in the middle. It made me think about hiding away. When I looked at it, the first thing I heard was hiding away. So maybe some of you are trying to avoid someone, or there's something that you're avoiding, or you just don't want to deal with. Or I keep on hearing someone, so there may be someone that's really aggravating you. So you're trying to, like, I heard ignoring calls. You might be ignoring someone. I feel like there's a sense of frustration here with this situation. It's frustrating. There's someone frustrating you. I heard they always want something. What do they want now? Maybe someone is dependent on you, and you just feel like you need a break because your energy is being pulled every which way. And you're trying to focus. It's almost like you could be trying to focus on you right now. A lot of you could be like focusing on self-healing at this time, and there's like people that I heard people that weren't there for you, now they want you. People that weren't there for you, now they want you. You may have thought of this. You may have thought about the fact that, like, exactly what I just said. Like, you want me now? And I'm trying to focus on something. But now you want me? Now you want me? Okay, so that's with that part. Okay, what else? I think you're leaning towards self-reflection, even though it might be challenging for you, because I don't feel like it's easy for some of you because you're not used to it. You don't do it often. So it's a little weird. I'm getting like this energy of maybe it's a little different for you to where you're trying to get used to it. But I'm hearing you're doing a good job because you're trying. Sometimes just taking the first step means a lot. And I feel like sometimes many are at that point where you want things to happen. You want things to happen sooner rather than later. So you really go extra hard on yourself. And you just think that you're not doing something up to par. Okay. What else am I getting? I heard too many bridges have been burned. Too many bridges have been burned. Many of you feel like a lot of people crossed you in your life, especially when you were younger. I feel like you have this, you feel let down. I just heard, I feel let down. You feel let down. You feel let down about certain relationships in your life where you just feel like it could have went better, but it did not. It could have gone better, but it didn't. I heard you reminisce at times. You wish it would, but it didn't. You try not to dwell on it, but sometimes it's like, it makes you sad. And then I heard, but I know now what to do. I know now what to do. It's like a burst of energy. Because at first it was kind of like, it made me want to put my head down because that's how I felt. That's the energy. But then it's like, you often snap back. You snap back into reality. And the reality is, you know that you must keep going. So it's like, okay, all right, I'm back. I'm back. I went through that for a moment, but what else am I supposed to do about it? Okay, I'm back. Gotta get back into action. You gotta get back into action. And I feel like now you're in action. I feel like you're in action more than you ever were before. Because you're choosing you now. And it took a long time for you to get to this point to choose you. It was hard for you to choose you. And you know why I think it was hard for you to choose you? It was hard for you to choose you because you were always thinking about someone else. In your younger years, it started to where you would always be thinking about someone else. You were thinking about someone else and their well-being, but you weren't really thinking about you so much. There were times when you did, but more than anything, you were thinking about someone else. Most of the time, that's where your mind was at. There's an aspect to you that is very selfless. And that aspect of you can get you in trouble. And I'm not in a bad way, completely, not in a horrible way. But I say that because I heard Spirit wants you to compartmentalize that and analyze it. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you must learn how to, I don't know why I see a string, like you letting string, like imagine you had a ball of string and you just keep on giving it away, like not giving it away, but like rolling it out. Rolling it out. I heard eventually that string will get tangled. So this is why it's something to be looked at when it comes to how you give, how you measure your energy. When you measure your energy, make sure that what you do, you can handle it. Don't deplete yourself just because somebody's asking you to. If you know that you can't handle it, then just say no. You know, just say you can't do it. And if they don't understand, that's their problem. It might sound cold, but I mean, people have trouble respecting people's space and people's healing. People heal differently. People handle their emotions differently. And being able to accept that, it can go a long way in relationships. Any type of relationship. Some people handle things differently. I heard they can't expect more from you than they are willing to give. They cannot expect more from you than they are willing to give. Is that the end of this message? They cannot expect more from you than they are willing to give. See, that's why the world is imbalanced. People are thinking so like in such a selfish way. Everything is on savage. Everything. Not just some things. It's just everything is in savage beast mode. They don't know. Okay. The majority of society does not know that they're not balanced. They think that what they do and how they behave is fine. But it's toxic and detrimental. Not only to themselves, but to others. So the best thing you can do is work on you. And if you find that there is energy around you that is in an imbalanced state, you know what to do. Separate yourself and don't deal with them. You know, because what else? I mean, there's nothing more to do with that. Because people like that, they have to figure it out. You can't take someone's journey away by trying to continue to do something that they're not ready for. Like trying to like be there for someone who is not there for themselves. It's a waste of time. Because they have to say, okay, I'm ready. If they don't say that, then it's a waste of time. So it's best to just back away and let them figure it out. No matter who it is, let them figure it out. Because otherwise you will be stressed out. And you don't need to be stressed out. Okay. I think that's it for this message. But just to recap it a little bit, because it did sway a bit, but it was really about how you had to withstand much more than you should have as a child, and it took a toll on you as an adult, but I don't think you really realize it, or you do. It's either you don't realize how much it took a toll, or you realize it has taken a toll and you don't really know how to deal with it. So if you need to rewind, be kind and rewind. You remember that on the tape cassettes at the video store when you used to be able to go to the store and get the videos and put them into the VCR? I just had a moment. But anyway, rewind this video back to ask yourself a few questions about what would you tell your youthful self. Not to say you're not still youthful, but what would you tell the tiny you, the baby you? What would you tell yourself that you feel as though you needed to hear that would have helped you make better decisions from the decisions that you make or made, and the decisions that you make now? And to any traumatic moments that you went through where someone inflicted stress and pain or abuse of any type on you, what would you tell your tiny self to help you along the way? One example that I'm thinking of, the first thing I thought of was telling your childhood self that you're moving towards greatness and letting them know how great they are. Letting them know how amazing they are and how powerful they are. You know, just hearing those few words as a child, it creates an oasis in the mind. There's these little I feel like it's this, yeah, I feel like there's good triggers and bad triggers, right? And I feel like this is a good trigger. When a child is told something very powerful about oneself at an early age, it stays with them and it can help mold and shape who they become as an adult. Now, if all a child hears is horrible things about themselves and about their future, then that is all they will know, and they'll begin to shape their adult life and just the whole, all phases of life around that ideology that was implanted. It was a seed that was planted within their soul, and it grew. So by you giving your childhood self empowerment, you are not only healing your childhood self, but you're also healing your adult self. Okay? So try it and see how it works for you. It's like beautiful words of not only affirmation but power. It's like speaking power over your life and over you as a child. Because I'm telling you right now, if you close your eyes for just a moment and remember a very difficult moment that happened in your childhood, you can see everything as if it's happening right now. And that's how powerful our mind is. And it also shows how powerful we are to be able to heal ourselves. But I just think that we forget about that magic. And that's also a part of the imagination, to be able to do that, because you are recreating a moment in your mind that has happened already to go back and fix something, tweak it so that you could think about it different, and you reprogram yourself. All right, my loves. So, that made me think about a conversation I had with my father today. I want to come back and tell you guys that, but that's a whole nother conversation. But it was good. I'll tell y'all later. Maybe in the next, I don't know. I'll tell you. Just un momento. Un momento. Okay? It's going to be more than 1 minute though. Anyway, everything you do, do it with love. Always remember the creator is in you and the magic is too, because you are magic. I'll see you in the next video.